Top of your this sheet looks like this. This is the benchmarking report. We won't go through every line here, but basically I wanted you to have this. I believe on Thursday they're going to come down. Somebody from ODE is coming down to go through the benchmarking report. You probably saw this. We looked at this back in, I think it was August, September. We looked at this and along with the cover report as well. The commission had asked for some of this data, so but a couple things pointing out here. Really, not too many surprises. I think a lot of this data we've already been through or seen before. This particular one compares the CUP report, as you know, compares Little Miami with similar districts and also with state averages. This report, similar data. Some of it's a little bit different, but it compares Little Miami with not only similar districts, but also county averages and state averages. So a couple things to point out to go into the district demographics, about the third section down. Again, a couple things to stick out here, the number of community school students and also open enrollment. The numbers, again, they have on here are your 2010 numbers. So for example, the community school, you can see last year's 140 kids, and open enrollment out was 96 kids. Again, those numbers are up again this year by about 50%. In total, we're probably over 350 this year in terms of total community school kids and open enrollment kids. Compare those again to state averages, to county averages. You can see we're quite a bit higher than those other districts. And again, not surprising. We've seen these. We've seen the financial impact of these numbers over the last few months as we looked at it. Again, just something that they will look at on Thursday. You move on down to the administrator, or down towards the bottom, the administrator costs. Something Mr. Bennett was talking about earlier, the pupil to administrator ratio. You can see Little Miami's at 269 to 1. State average last year was 150 to 1. So we had a big difference there in terms of where our ratio is at compared to state averages. Moving out a little bit farther down to transportation. One of the questions that they asked, they actually called me today and asked about this percent of non-traditional riders at 10.8%. You can see compared to state average 7.7%. If you look at the second page, basically those non-traditional riders are your private school, like private school kids. So again, not surprising. You know, a lot of these numbers tie together. So that 10.8% is a higher percentage just because of the number of kids that have pulled out and moved on to private schools that we're busing to. So. The second page on this is a little bit of an explanation and some references there on where they got the data from, a little bit of explanation on what the line items are. The third page is just some more information on, it has some costs, it has some of our number of kids by special ed category, some different information in there. So again, just you can have that to look through that before Thursday, because I think that's something they're going to go through on Thursday.
Sean, I have a quick question for you. This is obviously for last fiscal year.
Right.
Now, when I went to like the CUP report on ODE's website, we didn't have any. There's no of this information on there.
The CUP report hasn't been updated yet. The CUP report, the one that's on there was actually put out in February this year for fiscal year 9. Most of this is fiscal year 10 data. The current CUP report data is fiscal year, mostly it's a year older, it's fiscal year 9 data. And the new CUP report probably won't come out again until February or somewhere in there for fiscal year 10.
Because some people will go back to it and say, well, your numbers are wrong because it's at 8,500.
Yeah, I heard that we were 85 certified staff over last night, so we need to get the CUP report.
There's different, obviously there's different forms of data, different places it comes from. The latest per pupil expenditure data came out probably in, I think that was in early October, it came out. That's on the ILRC reports on the ODE website, the power user reports. That data won't translate to the CUP report, like I said, until February. I'm not sure the exact date that this report came out, but if you find this benchmarking report on the ODE's website, you can actually pull up basically in the top, it's in the top left part there where you see Little Miami highlighted in blue. There's a little drop down box. You can pull that up for any district and populate the spreadsheet. So just different. Like you said, there's some inconsistencies on the website and as far as the data that's out there, but that's something I think they're going to go over on Thursday. Depends on what,
Tax for instance, what is that calculated?
the tax effort index. Yeah, the tax effort index, actually, if you, Mr. Mueller and I had this conversation via email this week, but if you look at the cover report on ODE's website, it has a full page listing of, a full explanation of the way that they come up with that. This tax effort index is actually, that they're looking at is mostly median income data. There's other places when they look at relative wealth of the district, they're looking at property value, for example, the OSFC and the value rankings and all that. They're using property value data, not income data. With this local tax effort index, they are using median income data.
Our state fund should be based on.
State fund, the past formula and the old SF3 formula, those are based on property values. They don't have anything to do with median income. Any other questions on that for everyone? The next thing, if you pull out these forecast versions that you have in front of you. There's 5 different pages here. If you look at the top left-hand corner, there's a little box that has the key assumptions, and we won't go to the screen quite yet. We'll work off the hard copies we have right now, but on the top left-hand, you have the key assumptions in these. These are scenarios that the commission chairman asked me to put together last week, so I emailed those up to him. Actually sent him a couple more today. They were working on some things today. They'll be working on some more things tomorrow, and we're going to meet with them again on Thursday. So obviously a lot of these things are fluid. They continue to change really on a daily basis, but these are the most recent, as of last week, they're the most recent things that we had sent to them. One change we had talked a little bit about, it's in this forecast version, is over the last several months, we projected 15% cut of state funding effective July 1st, 2011. The most recent data, the information we're hearing across the state is actually bumping that up higher. The 15% might be a little bit low. So we have changed that to a 20% cut in state funding. So for us, that'd be about $2 million come July 1, 2011. This year, we're getting about $9.9 million from the state. So instead of the $1.5 million we had in there before, this would be a $2 million cut from the state. You can see the different scenarios in there. I know at times we've looked at, and we can look at again tonight, the incremental levies as well as the fixed dollar levies. The scenarios that he had requested were basically strictly the fixed dollar levy with no increments. There's pros and cons to both sides. The pros are the incremental levy. There's a couple different pros. One of them is that you can obviously lower the millage on the front end, and maybe as you phase that in over time, as maybe people getting raises or whatnot, it's a little bit easy to phase that in over time, as opposed to having it fighting off all in one chunk. He seems to have seems to prefer that fixed dollar levy with no increment. So basically, the disadvantage is on the front end, it raises that millage up, but this is the way that the direction they end up going. On the front end, it raises that millage up. On the back end, it actually it doesn't end up as high. So for example, with an incremental levy, it might start out at 11.95 mils and finish up at 18.95 or something like that. With a fixed dollar levy, maybe it starts out at 14.95 or something and basically just stays there. So on the back end, basically you get more money on the front end, you get less money on the back end. Pros and cons both sides, like I said, but just wanted to update you on the information that's being requested and what direction it looks like they might be taking for the May ballot. Again, nothing's been decided yet, but it's just informational.
Been getting a lot of questions, I know some of you guys have too, about the high school bond millage expiring what year and how much?
2000, I think it's 2015.
2015.
The original. Right. Yeah. I believe it's 2015.
How many mills are working right now, all of it?
Right now, well, everything total, we have 6.25 bond mills that include the original high school as well as all the new construction here recently.
So 6.2 mills would expire in what year?
Well, that's 6.2
No, that's
total. That's everything.
altogether. Correct.
Some of that, yeah.
How
Part
much
that
would
will,
expire?
I think that's the issue that everybody's trying to find out.
Yeah.
With the
off the top of my head, I don't know how much is rolling off in 2015, but I can look it up. And
What was the original? Four
back in
something?
1997,
Yeah. Was it four something?
I think it was 4 and a quarter that was added in 2006, so probably around 2 mils. If I had to guess, I'd say it's around 2 mils, but I can look it up for sure.
What is the, are you gonna go through these again?
Yeah. Did you have a question on one?
No, go ahead.
Another key factor in here, and we can again look at this, some things up on the screen here in a minute, but as you note in the top left-hand corner, all of these forecast scenarios do not assume any restorage of cuts. So basically, with the cuts going into effect effective August of next year, and at no point would they be restored. That's the forecast that they would like to see projected. They don't want to see, at least as the commission chairman doesn't want to see the cuts being restored in any of those years. His main focus is really to have a positive balance by that 5th year out, and any cuts that might be restored is something that would be above and beyond their scope. I think he really feels like their scope is really primarily and solely just to look at a positive cash balance in that out year, and not to worry about or factor in any kind of restoring of cuts. So
So
that's something
money
that's,
is the object, not education.
Exactly, yes. Say yes. I do have another question for you. You were talking about, real quick, the 20% decrease.
okay.
Is that, are you just saying that's a flat 20%?
The 20% decrease effective fiscal year 2012, and then flat funding from that
Flat
point
funding
forward.
from then on? Any inkling that it could even be lower?
It could go, absolutely, it could go lower beyond that. Yeah.
But this year's flat funding, after the 20%. For some reason,
State, that ordinance, remember,
Fargo,
yeah, Hart.
Jeff Hart.
Jeff Hart.
I mean, he was sitting in the seats, and he said something about 22%, which led me to believe that there was a discussion about it. It was a final number, but he made it sound as though it was higher. And then if that were in effect for a biennium, when we're doing our 5-year forecast, I think can't project the future, it's always been an issue, but you're not going to do any further reduction.
Right, so it could be more, right. So basically, right now, the next biennium is going to cover fiscal year 12, fiscal year 13, 32 years in the forecast beyond that. So really, there's the rest of this biennium, and the 2 more full bienniums in this forecast period.
Based